Whoop whoop. Breaking news, the Yankees are allowing well-groomed beards for employees, and Hooters filed for bankruptcy because they were allowing well-groomed beards for their employees. Hooters isn't the only one losing beards, as the U.S. hockey team can shave theirs off after losing to Canada last week in the Four Nations Cup. Were they even doing that beard thing? I don't even know. I don't think they were. Oh well, 59 Super Bowls and 118 World Series to just 2 World Series. The Blue Jays won back-to-back in 92 and 93. And speaking of, there's nothing to bring back some glory to the U.S. like America's pastime. Spring training is in full swing, and with another year of baseball comes another new pitch. Last year it was the sweeper, this year it's the kick change. Clay Holmes got the idea when he saw Juan Soto kicking change at a homeless person. That's what Soto does for fun now. He throws pennies at the unhoused like he's trying to nail a trick shot.
Penny.
Maybe he should kick some of those 76,500,000,000 pennies over Hooters' way and save them like Chance the Rapper saved SoundCloud and Elon saved Twitter. I started watching Severance, and I thought of Soto after I understood the concept of the show. What would you do if you had no idea what you did for work and you woke up with $765 million over the next 15 years? This is my innie when I'm recording the podcast. I let my Audi take care of editing the video, uploading it to YouTube where you can subscribe to the channel and leave a like on each one. And my Audi also cuts clips to put on Instagram and TikTok later in the week, which you can follow at Hoagies and Pierogis on all social media platforms. If you've never seen Severance, you won't get that part of the intro at all. Welcome to number 142 of HN'P.
Live from central Pennsylvania with your host Ian DiCarlo, this is Hoagies and Pierogis.
The ski stash! The ski stash!
Welcome to the Big Ten.
Beijers go drink, man. Let's go!
Okay, I'm gonna feel like I'm a little bit behind, I think, this whole episode. A lot of stuff actually happened last Thursday, starting with the Four Nations Championship. Those ladies were battling it out for national anthem supremacy. That sounds a little bit bad. I thought this thing was scheduled for 8 o'clock, but the puck didn't drop until 8:25. How is the whitest sport the latest one to start? All right, so in the first period, we had a scrap 35 seconds in. Oh boy, I thought it was going to be great. Nothing but fighting the whole time. This was just going to be a UFC match on ice. I was wrong. Canada scored first in under 5 minutes, and they did so in all 4 games, actually. They scored first. Nathan MacKinnon sniped that thing through 3 players and the goalie a few feet from the edge of the zone. The U.S. could not get anything sustained going halfway through the first period, and Canada was crowding the net very well. USA ended up tying it up off a center ice face-off. Austin Matthews wrapped it around the net, and Brady Tkachuk jammed it in there. It was 1-1. The U.S. was putting more pressure on Canada to end the period, but Canada was still looking pretty good. All right, basically to start out the second period, USA knocked down Canada's goalie at 19-20, but luckily no one else saw it. There was not a huge brawl. Oh, but they did try to fight. They tried. About 6 minutes in, they tried to go all out. They were starting to rip each other's helmets off, but then the refs got in there real quick and were like, no fighting tonight. What the hell? That brings in all of the views. They broke it up way too fast. And then Jake Sanderson, I have no idea who the hell you are, but hell yes. Tkachuk was making his presence felt as he cleared the way for this goal to get in there. It was 2-1 USA. But then momentum shifted a little bit. USA was called for tripping almost immediately after that goal. But they did a great job of killing time and even got some shorthanded pressure on the power play. But then, come on, you can't be so sloppy on these exchanges getting on and off the ice. That was really bad. Canada caught him mid-shift and scored on essentially a 3-on-1 by the time the puck was in front of the goal. It was all tied up at 2 with just under 6 minutes left in the second period. The sixth period. And it was kind of crazy. The shots on goal stayed even basically the whole time up till this point. They had 19 apiece going into the third period. Canada had 11 in the first, 8 in the second. U.S. had 10 in the first, 9 in the second. And before the third period started, they were like, there will be no shootouts. This is like classic Stanley Cup playoff hockey. Come on. It's just regular playoff rules? You gotta be kidding me. It was 10:15 at that point. That just made me want to go to sleep. I mean, if this thing started on time, they'd be halfway through the third period at that point. Is Austin Matthews the Luka of hockey? I can't stop making the Luka to other sports comparisons. But I realize that hockey is really the only sport that makes me grunt while watching it. Puck will get close to the net and I'll go like, ooh, I don't do that with anything else that I'm watching. I think I might grunt during the UFC, but I haven't sat down and watched a fight in a long time. Canada hit the goalpost 5 minutes into the period, and I let out a big one. Oh my God. That one scared me. But the US was having some great opportunities they could just not capitalize at all. None were as close to the net, but they were definitely having more opportunities than Canada was the whole period. And then here, I think they might have jinxed the team a little bit. They told the story about how Jack Eichel lost the NCAA championship playing in the same building. And what the fuck was up with them flicking the puck up in the air so much the last 5 minutes? I was getting really pissed off. Someone try to score instead of sending the puck 20 feet in the air and waiting for it, just looking up at it until it lands. That's the most boring way to play hockey, I think. But Canada almost scored with 25 seconds left and then almost scored again with 5 seconds. But Hellbuck made a save and they were going to overtime. At this point, I did go to bed. It was 11 o'clock. All right, so I woke up the next day and I watched overtime at work. It was Friday. Both teams were flying around the ice and were in position to score often. But Canada's goalie, Bennington, was making sure to not let anything in. He was on a heater. And then Canada got the goal shortly after a face-off in the U.S.'s zone. Connor McDavid with the Connor McDagger. Why can't the U.S. beat Canada? Come on! Let's go! What the fuck? U.S., you better make it count next year. The Olympics are in Italy, so you gotta give Canada the boot. And god damn it, I spent like at least 10 minutes during the game trying to think of TJ Oshie. I could not think of his name forever, and I was saving his that comparison for whoever scored the winning goal for US. But it's going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait till the Olympics. This was the most viewed hockey event ever on ESPN with about 9.3 million viewers on average. It was a great game, but it would have been much better with some fisticuffs. If there was ever a movie about this tournament on Canada's side, Benedict Cumberbatch should play Mike Sullivan. And this comparison was already mentioned about 8 years ago. But yeah, that was really exciting, and it gave shades of the World Baseball Classic a couple years ago. But before we get into baseball, we got to go over some NBA news here. Victor Wembanyama is expected to be out for the rest of the year with deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, which is what led Chris Bosh to his retirement. It wasn't in his shoulder, but it was in his legs, I think. Deep vein thrombosis is blood clots, and it makes sense that taller people would be more prone to this kind of thing happening since blood needs to travel further. It needs a little bit more of a push to get there. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a fucking doctor. He should be Defensive Player of the Year, though. That's as far as I know. But with the 65-game minimum to win awards, he can't win shit. He's at 46 games right now, and a bunch of players and former players are pissed off at the rule. I think he probably would have won it if the 65-game minimum didn't exist. It was also announced that Greg Popovich won't return to the Spurs this season, or probably for the rest of his life, after he had a mild stroke back in November. It sucks to be a Spurs fan right now. Man, it really sucks to have an injury like that. Or not even like an injury, like a condition like that. So young. LeBron, on the flip side, just had his second 40-point game after turning 40, which not even Michael Jordan did. Luka didn't play in that game, but Austin Reeves backed him up with over 30 points himself. But then Luka did have his breakout game as a Laker on Saturday. He was just basically the quarterback to LeBron's tight end, throwing passes down court at least once every game he was in. So yeah, Luka finally scored over 20 points and scored 32 in that game. The Mavs are coming to LA on Tuesday night, so you better bet your ass I'm going to be watching that tonight. Tonight's Tuesday. Might add in some of it here. Well, Luka did go off, and he got a triple-double. He was quarterbacking the fuck out of this game. When you have a triple-double with under 20 points, you know you're cooking. 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists. He was trolling Nico before the game, doing push-ups on the court in front of him. He also stared down the Mavs bench after hitting back-to-back threes, and he looked mad. They took the second three away, but it didn't matter because he got his message across to the bench. Baseball is back, and we had our first spring training game with the Cubs against the Dodgers. This was last Thursday. Like I said, a lot of stuff happened last Thursday, and it was the first game since they're going to be playing their first regular season game in Japan about 2 weeks earlier than everyone else starts. Looking that up, I also found out that they're playing 4 games against the Hanshin Tigers and the Yomiuri Giants a few days before they face each other. So that's pretty cool. You know, I'm sure those Japanese teams kind of hold their own. I'm not sure exactly how serious the MLB players take it, but those Japanese players will be sure to show out. Okay, so I don't think that I knew that they were using the ABS challenge system in spring training this year. I might have, but Paul Skeens was the only thing that was on my mind after he made his debut last year. The challenge system is the perfect combination of still having umpires out there and having a robot making them look like idiots in front of thousands of people daily. So you mean to tell me that they can accurately track tiny balls down to the millimeter crossing an invisible plane that doesn't exist in real life? Don't tell me that they can't add this technology to football for first downs. Max Scherzer actually lost his first challenge because Alejandro Kirk framed the ball too well. That's going to be an issue. I think catchers should probably be the ones calling the challenge rather than pitchers. They have the best view of the strike zone. Catchers do. But wait, why the hell are we talking about the Blue Jays so much lately? This has to be like the 4th or 5th week in a row that we've mentioned them. It's actually starting to piss me off. Fuck Canada. On the topic of other old, out-of-touch pitchers, Justin Verlander wants 300 wins in some MLB rule changes, so he won't be the last. So the whole basis of the article is Verlander wanting to get to 300 wins. He's sitting at 262 right now, and he is 42 years old. He's not going to get there. Who does he think he is, Satchel Paige? Even if he pitches until he's 45, that's at least 13 wins a season until then. That's kind of a lot in today's game. All right, so as I mentioned in the intro, another year, another new pitch. Clay Holmes introduced us all to the kick change. When Pitching Ninja first posted this, I kept looking at his leg to try to see if he was making a joke. But no, apparently you're kicking the spin axis of the ball by flicking it off your middle finger as you're releasing it. I obviously don't know the specifics behind it, but it's just the ball breaks in a different way. I think it's a more sharp arm side movement to it. It has more break for a changeup because a changeup doesn't really have break. It has more fade. But this one has a sharper fade, more like a splitter, I think.
Definitely. So your typical, change-up grip, your fingers are laying flat on the ball. This is just a grip where you kind of spike up one of the fingers, just so supinators like myself, people that cut the ball, are able to basically kick the axis where it's spinning and get the same depth. Okay. I'm not a huge pronator. I kind of release the ball from a more supinated or cut position, so it really, the spike just kind of pushes the ball where it's spinning more sideways, and I get the depth. And, it's definitely more comfortable for me. And, I think that's the big thing with the changeup is just finding the comfort and really just throwing it like your fastball. And it's been nice to see the results here early so far.
It's interesting to see if it'll catch on. All right, it's time to get into the Pirates. It's that time of year. Let's be sad for the next couple of months. But surprisingly, the Pirates won their first game against the Orioles 10-5. And honestly, it was really just nice to watch baseball on a Saturday afternoon. And on Sunday, Connor Griffin, the Pirates' first-round pick from this past year, made his debut on Sunday, and he got his first hit with an RBI and managed to blaze his way around the bases and score. Tell me how old you think this guy is. I would say 24, 25. This man is 18 years old. Connor Griffin is 18 years old. This man is a stud. He is going to be the future of the Pirates. We want to talk about a bat coming up. Here's your generational bat. Connor Griffin is going to the Hall of Fame. I'm obviously exaggerating, but he looks the part of a baseball player. Skeens, first start, got rained out on Monday, and I was really looking forward to watching him. But on Tuesday, Thomas Harrington made his spring training debut, and apparently he has better stuff than people thought. So the Pirates do have some promising prospects on the way. They also signed Andrew Heaney last Thursday night to a 1-year, $5 million deal. There's another thing that happened last Thursday. This certainly seems better than Martin Perez or Marco Gonzalez from last year. Another lefty is always welcome, and he was decent last year in Texas, throwing 160 innings with a 4 ERA. That's all you need out of your number 4 or 5 starter. But it did also come along with the news that Jose Quintana declined a contract from the Pirates. He either hated it here or he was really hurt that he was traded and wanted to stay. There's no in between. Even though that's embarrassing that he turned it down. For whatever reason, it might not be embarrassing. I think I might actually rather have Heaney this year. I know Quintana was good for us, but he's been pretty injury prone since we got rid of him. So it all works out in the end. And holy shit, I think this is the biggest news. The Yankees are allowing facial hair. I actually thought that I would never see this day come. They were so steadfast on that rule. I never thought it would change. The new alteration to the decades-long, hell, century-long rule at this point allows all uniform personnel to have well-groomed beards. Seeing Garrett Cole baby-faced has never been right. He'll be able to put spider tack back in his beard, and he's going to have a great year. And he did mention that Cashman said he didn't want to be in like Duck Dynasty. Then also last Thursday, Jesus Christ, Aaron Boone was extended by the Yankees. Why? I don't know. I think anyone besides him would have gone to Tim Hill in Game 1 of the World Series instead of Nestor Cortez. If he doesn't win this year with a much improved roster, albeit without Soto, he should be gone. They should have waited until his contract was up. In other Yankees news, Judge said he would like to play in the next World Baseball Classic. The Four Nations tournament really does have players hyped up, and he would be a huge part of trying to avenge Team USA's loss last 2 years ago to Japan in the World Baseball Classic. All right, we have some news here that didn't make sense initially for the MLB. At least didn't make sense in my eyes. They're departing with ESPN after this season. They're ending their partnership, citing minimal coverage outside of the games, which when you tune into ESPN, when do you ever hear about baseball outside of the incessant ads for Red Sox versus Yankees on Sunday nights with Alex Rodriguez? Who wants to watch that? But really, I don't know how they're going to pick up the slack with broadcasting these games. I'm not going to get MLB.TV. I'm not. There's no chance. In another broadcast news, I regret to inform you that there will be no poop games on NBC Sports Network this season. They changed their score bug so that it shows team score. It's a sad day. A very sad day indeed. All right, football. No college news again this week. This is the dead period. There probably won't be any college news for a while since all of the college players will be at the Combine this weekend. But just a little bit to clean up here. The Eagles' new OC looks exactly like Sirianni, just in a hat and sunglasses. I don't know why people seem so negative about this hire. Literally anyone can call plays for this Eagles offense and be successful. We also learned that A.J. Brown bought a mannequin for his game-used Super Bowl jersey. I totally would have done the same thing. And we learned that Nolan Smith played with a torn triceps in the Super Bowl. I mean, if you make it to the Super Bowl, you're going to play with any injury that you have. But that still takes a lot of guts. That has to hurt a lot. An NFL team submitted a rule proposal to ban the tush push. I actually don't think it was the Chiefs, because even without it, they got their tush pushed in. It could possibly be the Commanders, so they don't have players flying over the line when they play the Eagles. I could see Jerry Jones being vain enough to try and ban it. But I really think it's John Mara being so mad that he's trying to hold one thing over the Eagles after they're holding Saquon and the Super Bowl trophy over their heads. Or at least that's what it feels like to John Mara. But we found out on Wednesday that it was Green Bay who submitted the proposal to ban the tush push. There can only be one green team in town, apparently. And speaking of the Packers, they've had talks about a Jair Alexander trade. Patriots? All right, Brandon Staley is now officially the Saints defensive coordinator. Allah is on the Saints defense next year, although I do think this will work out a little bit better for him than the Chargers job. The Jaguars hired former Rams personnel executive James Gladstone as their general manager. He has been outstanding at drafting and finding good players that fit the team as the director of scouting strategy since 2019 with Los Angeles. especially since just this past year was their first round pick since 2016 when they picked Goff. I like this hire. Maybe they'll trade Trevor Lawrence for, say, Derek Carr? Gladstone isn't the one that made the Goff-Stafford trade, but he was on the staff when Les Snead pulled it off. If the Saints weren't strapped for cash, even after the reported increase after the cap space to be able to pull this off, this might be a comparable trade. But things might be looking up in Jacksonville a little bit. All right, Cowboys guard Zach Martin is retiring and should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. When I saw this, there's no chance he isn't. 9 All-Pro selections and 7 holding penalties in his entire career. That is quite possibly the best stat that a lineman can have. This picture that ESPN used to tweet out more info on the Justin Tucker scandal is hilarious. This week was actually the first time a Ravens official has commented on Tucker, and it was the GM. Why did he not at least put out a statement along the lines of, "We are aware of the allegations against Justin Tucker and are handling the situation seriously"? That is literally all he needed to say. But it took him 26 days. It took 26 days for the organization to acknowledge the allegations from the article in the Baltimore Sun at all. We're kind of just churning through these. I didn't really organize this well this week. Drake May might have hinted at the Patriots coming back out with the Bledsoe Blues, or at least a reimagination of them. I'm excited. That white one, oh my God. If this little tease is real that the Patriots put out on Valentine's Day, I will get that white jersey as soon as it drops. It looks so good. I was already planning on getting a white Drake May jersey anyway, so I will 100% get that one. Okay, the Combine is this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. And we had this little piece of news come out before I go over anything else here, that Gronk has reportedly worked out for Sean Payton and is interested in joining the Broncos. But this was immediately shot down by Ian Rappaport. This was just some bullshit. Everyone is trying to find some news to talk about. Okay, but Thursday when this comes out, it's defensive linemen and the linebackers. Friday is the defensive backs and tight ends. And then Saturday is the quarterbacks, wide receivers, or running backs. And then Sunday is the offensive line. Why you wouldn't group offensive lines and tight end instead of defensive backs and tight ends, I have no idea. So we do already have some top players not going. Shadur Sanders isn't going to be working out at the Combine, and he said he'll throw on his pro day. He'll just be focusing on interviews, which this makes sense for quarterbacks throwing at their pro day. He might be getting some shit for it now, but I think this just makes all the sense in the world. Throwing to receivers that you're used to throwing to. Cam Ward's kind of unsure if he'll do it right now, but Abdul Carter is sitting out. His shoulder is not fully healed yet. He did get clearance to start resume training, and he should be ready for his pro day, however. They could amputate that arm, and I would still want the Patriots to take him at number 4. So a few players that I'll be keeping my eye on as long as they're there. Day 1, I'll be looking at Mason Graham, defensive lineman, Michigan. J.J. Puegas, defensive line, Ole Miss. Jack Sawyer, edge from Ohio State. In my mind, Jack Sawyer is kind of like Ohio State's Aiden Hutchinson. He is to Ohio State as Aiden Hutchinson was to Michigan. And then Shamar Stewart, edge from Texas A&M, is the last person on day 1. Day 2, Harold Fannin Jr. From Bowling Green. And then I don't know if Travis Hunter is going to the Combine or not, but I don't want to miss that if he is. He's invited as a DB and wide receiver, so he might be there Friday and Saturday. On day 3, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Curtis O'Rourke, I think it is, from Indiana. Jaden Blue, Ollie Gordon, Ashton Genty, and Cam Scadaboo are the running backs that I want to see. And then Luther Burden III, Trey Harris, Jimmy Horn Jr., Tetaroa McMillan, and Nick Nash are the wide receivers that I'm really interested in. Nick Nash especially, I think he could be a steal in the 2nd or 3rd round. And then on day 4 for offensive line, I want to see Kelvin Banks Jr., Will Campbell, Wyatt Milam, and Tate Ratledge. I just want to see Tate Ratledge because he looks the part of an offensive lineman. Okay, last thing about the NFL here. Steve Smith, you dog. Oh, this is actually pretty bad. Apparently, Steve Smith has been cheating on his wife, and the husband of the woman he cheated with laid it all out on socials, like posted everything, got a hold of her phone, screenshotted all the messages, and posted them all to all to Facebook and all to Twitter. In the post, he added the Ravens, the Panthers, and Antonio Brown. This is the only little bit that I'm going to post on here. What's said in the messages is not safe for work, and it's pretty disgusting. Not that this podcast is safe for work at all, but these messages are pretty nasty.
Hey, yo, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you've been fucking my wife, bro. What you gotta say for yourself?
I'm sorry.
You're sorry? You fucking knew she was married. You're not a fucking idiot, man. You're fucking Steve Smith Sr. What kind of dumb shit was that? Why are you quiet, man? Be a fucking man. Steve. You ain't a fucking man, bro. All that shit you do on fucking TV, all that shit talking you do to other people. Now someone's got you on the fucking phone, you can't even fucking man up.
That sucks. Apparently the woman is in the Ravens marching band. Those band people are freaks. Combine that with several accounts of Steve Smith trying to sleep with everyone he meets, and you have a recipe for disaster. Someone on Twitter said the woman looks like Jeff Van Gundy, and the resemblance is striking. Oh my God. And I just realized in that Valentine's Day picture with the hint to the Patriots throwback, they kind of hinted a new logo in there. It looks like it's just a Patriots hat. I don't know about that, but yeah, I like how the jersey looks. All right, anything else here on Twitter? Oh, Cleveland Browns GM Andrew Berry confirmed that Myles Garrett is unmovable after his request for a trade. You're really going to make him waste away in Cleveland? Jesus. Oh, I did forget to add that the Bengals are going to make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. The GM just said that today. Or sorry, not the GM, the director of player personnel. Last little thing here. The NFL report cards did get released on Wednesday, so we'll go in depth on them next week. The Patriots got an F in the weight room and team travel, and a D for ownership. Oof, yeah, we'll definitely go over this next week. All right, I think that's it for sports news. This weekend, I watched Inglourious Bastards for the first time, and it was awesome. But I also started watching Severance, as you could tell from the intro, and it is amazing. I sometimes feel like I got the severance procedure done, especially since, as an electrician, I've been painting the walls at work. It is mind-numbing, and I am almost completely disconnected. Hell, I often don't see sunlight until I leave the building at 2 p.m. I love the show, and I am only 3 episodes in. What happens to make this a 3-season show? I must know it. It is so good. Alrighty, everybody. I think that's it for this week. Make sure to leave a like and comment on each video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hoagies and Pierogis is available on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram for clips throughout the week, and we'll leave you with this. Thank you very much. Hey,
besties, baseball season is back, no cap. It is time to enter your D-backs era. At our training fields, players be cooking. Pop off, queens! They normally respond. They're locked in. Eating an acai bowl has given me main character energy. Sitting on the lawn is low-key fire. Some burros ate and left no crumbs. Slay. The vibes are immaculate. Ballpark empanadas? Let them cook. Salt River Fields. It's giving classy, it's giving cute, it's giving demure. This smash burger would send a Victorian child into a coma. Negative aura points if you don't shop at our team shop. Coming out to a spring training game is common sense, I fear.
Live from Central Pennsylvania with your host Ian DiCarlo, this is Hoagies and Pierogis.
The ski stash! The ski stash!
Welcome to the Big Ten. Beecher's going to drink me. Let's go.